Textiles are delicate, and if we're not careful with them, we'll lose them forever.
Yikes! Welcome, I'm Tamara Hemmerlein.
And I'm Karen DePauw, and we're from the Local History Services Department at the Indiana Historical Society.
Today we're going to talk about safe ways to handle and store costumes and textiles in our museum collections.
Just like anything in a museum collection, once textiles or costumes enter that collection, they cease to be items that we wear, and instead they become articles that we preserve in order to keep the history of them alive.
So this is really pretty. What do I do if it's in my museum collection?
So you actually want to make sure that your hands are nice and clean. No lotions and no hand sanitizer, because the alcohol in hand sanitizer can actually damage textiles. You also want to evaluate whether or not you might need gloves for any items that you're touching. When it comes to textiles, gloves are more about protecting us than protecting the items. So as long as there's no dirt or mold or anything on the item that you need to protect yourself from, gloves are not a necessary piece. But what you do want to remember is not to go touching your hair or your face or any way that you could get body oils on your hands, because that's going to transfer to the textiles. So I always like to put my hair in a ponytail before working with any textile collections.
All right, so now we're ready to store it.
Almost. So the next thing we want to do is we want to look for any weak areas. We want to look for any tears or holes, even any seams, because where those two pieces are joined is going to be a little bit weaker. We want to make sure that when we pick something up, we're supporting it so that those weak spots don't get weaker. We also want to make sure that on a garment, all of the closures are closed, because those little buttons and snaps and hooks sticking out, those might snag on something else it's stored next to, and we don't want to cause further damage to any item.
Then we're ready to put it in a box, right?
Yes, but a very particular kind of box. We don't want to use just any old cardboard box, because cardboard boxes have acid, and that acid can lead to irreversible staining on a textile item. So instead, we want to use an acid-free, lignin-free box with acid-free tissue paper, and that's going to help prevent these kinds of stains.
So does everything go in a box then?
Not necessarily. Boxes are always the best option, but that's not always available for everyone's budget and everyone's space constraints. Certain things always need to be boxed, things that are knits or really delicate items like this blouse here, but other things that are really sturdy, like this jacket, can be stored actually on a padded hanger. So the thing you want to make sure of, though, is that the hanger is not metal or plain plastic, and that you've padded it out with a little bit of batting. Yeah. That way, there's a lot more space to hold the weight of the item that you've put on it.
So I've decided to use a box. I just fold it up, put it in there.
Close. For textiles, any place where there's a strong, hard fold is going to be breakage along that fold. So we want to avoid that. And the way we do it is by creating a little tube of tissue paper that we can then put in the folds that create a curve.
Like that?
Exactly. See, so now you've got a nice rounded curve. You can actually put multiple things in a box too. Just make sure that the heaviest items are on the bottom, the lightest things are on the top, and that the box lid sits securely on the edges of the box, not on the garments inside.
All right. So with the textiles in my museum collection, I need to make sure I support the items carefully, fasten all closures, look for weak points, and use appropriate storage.
Exactly. And then you're ready to preserve your textiles in any museum collection.
Thank you for joining us today.